Welcome to the Plant-Centered and Thriving Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Kitchens. Welcome to the show. My name is Ashley, and today I have a raw and authentic story for you. Every one of us, whether you're transitioning to plant-based or you are plant-based or vegan, or however you want to identify when it comes to eating, it's for a reason. And whatever that reason is an impactful reason for you or for me, the person doing it. And in the case of the story I have for you today, this reason was a matter of life and death. Michele Bowman comes on the show to share the story of her and her husband, who are now both living plant-based lives together. They are empty nesters living full-time in an RV, and recently they had to make drastic changes when Rick had a very serious health scare. And Michele goes in to talk about this and share their story. Michele and Rick have had amazing results with living a plant-based life, so much so that the doctors and nurses were like, "What did you do?" They are in their late 50s and just recently adopted this way of eating. Michele loves to encourage other women, and she is now sharing her journey and how to navigate a plant-based lifestyle through her YouTube channel and through Instagram, which we've included below. Again, this is a real and raw story that Michele shares. We do talk about weight loss, which has been part of their journey, and she does mention several numbers. So I want to go through and just give you sort of what the quote normal ranges are so that when she does share these numbers, you know how drastic they are. So she mentions triglycerides, that is the fat in your blood. Ideally, triglycerides should be under 150. She mentions total cholesterol. Ideally, that should be under 200. She mentions Rick's blood sugar levels. Ideally, those should be under 100 if you're fasting. And then she also mentions A1C, which is basically the measurement of your blood sugar levels over the past 2 to 3 months. And ideally, that should be under 5.7%. Please join me in welcoming Michele to the podcast as she shares her and Rick's story about going plant-based. Welcome to the show, Michele.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be invited to share our story. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And I also feel honored to have you on the show because what ended up happening was Michele had commented on one of my posts a while back. I mean, at this point, it's been a couple months, and had said that y'all were just going to start your plant-based journey. And
Yeah.
then 8 weeks later, you gave an update on what had happened, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it was incredible. So that's why I was like begging Michele to come on the show to share her story with you as well, you listening.
When we saw the results of 8 weeks of whole plant based eating, I'm like, we got to tell people about this.
Yes. So here's where we're starting. So I guess take us back to even before you started your plant-based journey. What was kind of going on with you and your husband at the time?
So, to be honest, we have tried, and mainly for losing weight. In the past, we've tried every kind of diet. We even did carnivore, and I think that's what got him into this situation. He did carnivore. I was gone to help my mom with my dad. He was ill, and he was eating bacon cheeseburgers every night. Like, that was his
Oh,
meal because they were already
yeah.
cooked burgers from Costco, and he was
Yep.
using the already cooked bacon. And he did say he was having a little bit of twinge in his chest, but nothing major. But we know that we need to eat right. So you try to do whatever it is you need to do. But this time, it was not really about losing weight. It was whether he wanted to live or not.
Wow. So basically he was given this almost sounds like an ultimatum of like you keep going down this path and we know what's going to happen or you need to change something.
Yeah, he went to the doctor for his yearly blood work on May 25th, and the nurse called him the next day with the results, and or 2 days later she called with the results, and she said, the doctor wants you to go pick up this prescription for statins. She says you're a miracle that you're still alive and haven't had a heart attack or stroke. And that's when she told us, and I have it in front of me, his triglycerides were 1093 and his cholesterol was 342. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go get those, statins. And we're not big on pills. We don't do that. And it's like, but I'm going to get that because I don't want my husband to die,
Right.
And so I went and got the prescription, and he started taking it. And this same day he came home sick from work, and he thought these aches and pains in his back and legs were part of that when he started taking this medicine, the prescription for cholesterol. And after a few days it got worse. I mean, he was up, he couldn't sleep, his back and legs, he was in the worst pain he'd ever had, and he's had a kidney removed. So I mean,
Oh,
he
wow.
he said this is worse pain than that. And I started looking, I'm like, I better look up the side effects of this medicine. So after about 5 days in, him being in horrible pain, I look it up, and I said, back and leg spasms, horrible back and leg spasms. I'm like, okay. I said, we need to get you to the ER, and you need to stop taking that. And so we took him, they gave him a couple shots and muscle relaxers, in which he doesn't like take any kind of narcotics anyway.
Yeah.
So he did for a couple of days just to get the edge off till the medicine got out of his system. And that's when we realized, okay, you have to do this totally by eating completely. We've got to do this and see what is it that helps lower cholesterol. So I went to Google,
Uh-huh, of course.
I went to Google and started searching, and it all was saying plant based. And I was like, okay, oatmeal and fruits and vegetables and not a lot of fat and oils. And I was like, okay, so I need to go start following some plant people on Instagram so I can get used to cooking this way and learning more stuff and get inspired, because I'm going to support him and do whatever I want that's going to help him. I'm certainly going to do that because I love him. And, I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this too. And we did that. And I have to give him a big shout out that even while I was actually gone for 6 weeks, I had to leave again during this time. I had to leave for 6 weeks, go help my mom, take care of my dad. He was in hospice and sick. And he fixed the food and things that I told him to fix. He
Wow.
went, did the shopping, packed his lunch, came home every day, would fix his food, and he did it. So I can't take much credit for it besides getting him started and telling him what he couldn't eat, what he could eat.
Right.
So, but when he went back after 8 weeks, his cholesterol was 342 and went to 241. That's huge. And the
Yes.
triglycerides was what blew us away. It was, 1,093 to start, and it was down to 280. And the
Wow.
doctor was amazed. She said, what did you do? Because she really didn't tell us what to do. She
Yeah.
didn't tell him. I mean, it was just, he didn't go back in there because he had gotten sick, and they weren't taking patients in the office, all this doing these telehealth visits. And so she really didn't even say anything about so we had to figure it out on our own, and thankful
Wow.
for people, experts like you talking about it and saying, okay, this is how you do it. This is what you do. And so
Yeah.
we just, we've been learning, we're beginners still, but the fact that it went down so much in 8 weeks, I mean, we cried happy tears. We were so like,
Oh,
okay, because we had people saying, well, what if that doesn't work? Why are
right.
y'all doing this?
Yeah.
What, or, well, when it gets low again, you're going to go back to eating meat. Like, no,
Mm.
no. And the reason is because we watched a couple of documentaries like What the Health, and then we watched Forks Over Knives, and the science is there, and the proof is in his blood work. We can't, nobody can deny that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot deny those numbers. I mean, those were staggering numbers to begin with. And then to see those results, eight, 8 weeks, y'all, not over the course of a year. That's 8 weeks time of changing your
Yeah.
diet.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still learning, I'm still learning what we should be because we do want to lose weight and get rid of some excess weight. But, I'm still learning, and reading The Starch Solution by
Hmm.
Dr. McDougall. I'm reading that one, learning from all the Instagrammers that all follow this way of eating.
Well, so what was it like, Michelle? Even there's a couple, I have so many questions for you, but going from pursuing diets or different ways of eating for the pursuit of weight loss versus maybe now for the pursuit of I mean, extreme life and death, but just health in general. What was that like kind of transitioning?
Freeing,
Mm,
very freeing,
yeah.
because I see the people who do the starch solution way and eat the whole plant-based, and they're guess one thing they all have in common, they are a healthy weight. They
Yeah.
are they are all they all are a healthy weight. They don't have a lot of excess weight. And I'm like, okay, so if we do this to get healthy, guess what? This is gonna happen.
Hmm.
This is
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be, oh, lose 20 pounds the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Those advertisements and those things that try to get us sucked into doing whatever the fad is at the time. It's been interesting learning that, like, when we go visit family, I did it the whole 6 weeks I was at my mom's, and she was the one that kept saying, well, aren't you ever going to eat meat again?
Ah,
Well, what if,
yes.
and all this. And I'm like, aren't you hungry? I'm like, no, actually, I'm not hungry at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm full. And she still asks me that when we talk on the phone. She's like, well, don't y'all get hungry? I'm like, no, mother, because it's not, what aren't starches, aren't they fattening? I'm like, no.
Mm.
And these are all things that I used to believe. And
But yeah, there's a huge misconception out there that if you eat a diet heavy in carbs, that you're gonna blow up or gain weight or whatever it is, or be quote unhealthy.
right. And that's the other part. He did drop from the last time he was at the doctor's. He dropped 25 pounds in the 8 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
So, and I dropped 15. So I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. What was the transition like even from a taste perspective? Because here you go being pretty heavily, a meat centric diet to now very plant centered. So what was that like? I mean, that's a very different way of eating.
It is definitely different. Yeah, going from eating meat and cheese and then going now to this. When you use spices, that is, I'm telling you, learning to eat, cook with spices and things like that, it makes a huge difference. It's helped. I don't miss meat. I don't miss meat
Mm.
at all. I have to say that.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Because I think that's a challenge for a lot of people. It's like, well, I'm going to miss this or that.
I think because when you think about a piece of chicken or a piece of beef or like steak or something, really the thing that makes it taste good is the seasoning. It's
Yeah.
either the sauce or the spices on it. It never really tastes good by itself when it's just cooked. It's like, well, it
Hmm.
doesn't have much of a taste. But I can eat the same spices and things with rice and vegetables and be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Okay, so going back to kind of your doctor's visit, eight weeks later, you've switched to plant-based eating. You go back in, he gets his blood work done again, and it sounds like there's just confusion of like, okay, well, you're not on statins, but you've had obviously a significant improvement in your triglycerides and in your cholesterol. Was there any, were you able to kind of give them any explanation as to like this is why we did? And they were like, oh, that makes sense. Or what was that conversation like?
Well, yeah, because most Western medicine thinking the totally opposite, wrong, these are like, here, let's give you a pill. She said, so what have you been doing? Because she was, wow, these numbers are amazing. And she said, and you've dropped weight. And he told her, and she said, wow. She did say a lot of people need to start eating like that. So I was
Oh,
surprised. I was
yes.
surprised because back when I went for my yearly appointment, mine was in early May, and only that my cholesterol was 205. So it wasn't
Mm,
very high, but it was, but she said, she would see me in a year. She said, just try to eat more whole grains. She didn't really say a whole lot. But at
yeah.
that time, I told her I was doing keto. and, and she
Wow.
didn't, I know. And she didn't say anything. And I was like, okay. She didn't say, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
She didn't.
yeah.
But I thought, well, I'll just not eat as much fat. I don't know. But then it's like, well, then you're really not doing keto.
Yep, sure.
But but I always feel satisfied, and I know that I'm giving my body good stuff. And
Mm,
after seeing the numbers with Rick, you know, I'm like really thankful, really grateful.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because like the nurse said, I mean, it sounds like they were shocked he was even alive, or like you said, hadn't had a heart attack or a stroke.
Yeah, that was so scary. It was
Yeah.
so scary. And
Oh,
then him having the side effects, we were thinking they were from the sickness.
right.
Uh, and it was like, maybe there's some side effects in your medicine. When he went this past time to the doctor, she set up another appointment. So it'll be 3 months from that last blood work.
Okay.
So at the end of October, he'll do it again. And she kind of mentioned, well, we'll see where you're at then and see about, and she didn't mention a statin. She said some other thing. He said, well, I think we'll be good, because he's like, I don't want to take these things, I
Yeah.
don't want to have to depend on that. He's like, I'm going to do this by just eating.
Yeah. Wow. Now, did any of y'all, and I know a lot of people ask this question, did any of you all have any symptoms when you transitioned to plant-based eating? Whether it was your bowel movements changed or you had extra bloating?
Okay, so bowel movements. It has been a smooth ride. It is
Yes.
totally awesome. I am so thankful. It's never constipated and never diarrhea, to be honest, either. But there's a funny part. So we live in an RV, and there is a propane monitor. So when
Oh,
you eat beans and things like that, or broccoli, and next thing you know, you can set that thing off with your farts.
no way. I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's like, do we, like last night, honestly, it just thing went off 3 or 4 times. And it's funny. We just look at each other and crack up laughing. It's like,
Right.
whatever,
Yep. Yeah.
whatever. Because we don't do it all day. We're like, why do we do this at night? And so that's one thing we noticed. Our gas time is in the evenings. So I don't know, but he's at work all day. He said, I don't do this all day at work. I come home and then here we go. And then the thing goes
Right.
off. So we have to push a little button and turn the exhaust fan on and open the window and let the air out. It's so funny.
That is
So
so funny. Well,
it
and
is.
really, that's a very true and common side effect, especially when you're just transitioning to plant-based, just have extra gas. Like that is not absurd at all. So I appreciate you sharing that, Michelle.
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing. People that when they meet me or see me, they see I'm about as real as you come. Because
Yeah.
whether people like to admit it or not, we all deal with those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. Yeah. But nothing else that was too significant or anything that made it challenging or
Mainly just people questioning it.
yeah. Yeah. And that's again for you listening. I know that if you're transitioning to plant-based or if you are plant-based, that is often more challenging than going plant-based itself, is just managing the questions and the comments. And especially when you're new and maybe you yourself don't even know. It's like you get the question, where do you get your protein? And it's like, well, I know I'm okay,
Again,
but yeah.
that's the
So
question. I was about to say, a very close family member asked me the other day,
mm,
because we're supposed to go visit them in November for Thanksgiving. And Rick said he said, just a reminder, we're not eating meat, so just so you know, and we're not doing dairy. If you're going to take us out to eat or something, just make sure they have other things available on the menu. And and she said, well, where are you going to get your protein? You can't do that. And I'm
mm,
like, and thing is, she's a 40-year retired RN.
yeah.
So, and I mean, and she is a very knowledgeable person. She's amazing with her knowledge. But after watching and reading the Start Solution and watching the documentaries and learning, we don't need as much protein as they say we do,
Yeah. Yep.
you know?
Absolutely.
Um, so, I'm okay with that. I'm good. I don't even think, I don't even really think about it.
Yeah. Yep.
There's some days I get a little more protein. I might use a scoop of some organic protein powder in a smoothie, but then another day I may not.
Yeah, there's that huge misconception and that we need meat to make sure that we're getting all the protein we need. But like you're saying, I mean, as long as you're getting variety in your diet and you're incorporating some of those higher protein plant-based foods and getting enough calories, like you quote, should be fine. So without
Yeah.
having to worry, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we can all take a lesson from Rick as well. And because the holidays are coming up, it's always such a good reminder that especially if you're new to plant-based eating, or if you've been plant-based for a while, to kind of set those expectations ahead of time in advance with your family, if you can, and it
Mhm.
depends on your personality. I'm definitely one to kind of just go with the flow, maybe bring my own food, but other people like, Rick just saying like, hey, this is how we're eating. And we hope that you can respect that and kind of, make some accommodations.
Yeah. And if they don't, if there's, like stuff like, we checked, and there is a Publix 1 mile from them.
Oh, great.
So we'll go to Publix and we'll get some
Yep.
stuff.
There you
We'll
go.
get our own things and just, yeah, you know,
Yes.
we'll figure it out. But we're not going to compromise. When you compromise, then you're just gonna it'll be easier to do it again and again, and then you
Mhm.
get back in this, and we don't want to go backwards.
Yeah. 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 Because you know where backwards leads, and I know you don't want to go that way.
No, no,
Yeah.
that was it was very scary because me being gone during that 6 weeks, and
Yeah.
like, I'm like, is my husband gonna die today? That thought ran through my
Mm,
head.
I'm
Is like,
sure.
is this gonna help him, and is it gonna help him, get to where he needs to be? And I was so excited when he's like, yeah. I'm losing weight. And I'm like, that's good. But we didn't
Yeah.
really know about the blood work, what was going, so I can't tell enough people that if they are looking for a way to eat and they've tried everything else, to try whole plant-based eating
Yeah.
and watch a couple of documentaries like Forks Over Knives and What the Health, and get your eyes open to what is possible.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that you said to me when we weren't recording yet is that it's never too late to start this as well, which I thought was really
That's
important.
exactly right, because I'm 56 and Rick is 58.
Yeah.
So, in 7, 8 years, he'll be retiring, and I want to be able to enjoy that time. I don't
Yeah.
want to I mean, I don't want to be that way, and I don't want him to be that way where we're physically not able. Or honestly, I have an uncle who is 70 who yesterday had a stroke,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
his eating's awful. He smokes. But he had a stroke and he's in the hospital today. And
Wow.
I don't want that for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, the proof is in the numbers that you've seen. And two,
Yeah.
how are you all feeling? Like just physically, how are you feeling?
We sleep better. There is no constipation. I have energy, and I don't feel trapped. Think like this morning I had brunch because I just wasn't hungry when I got up. I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat just because I'm just not hungry yet. So I didn't eat. I ate about 10 o'clock. I made a smoothie bowl, but I made sure I had plenty of stuff in it. I'm not going to starve myself and like eat 800 calories a day or
Yeah.
1200 calories a day just to, that thinking is not in my mind anymore,
Mm.
you
Yep.
know?
Yeah. And
So,
like you said too, like you've tried a lot of diets and
oh my goodness, seriously. To be honest, I started dieting when I was like 14 years old.
mm, yeah.
I started dieting, and I dealt with anorexia and just all kinds of crazy stuff back then. But I have been on, you name it, I would say probably 50 different types of diets in my life,
Yeah.
back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
And this is just something I don't feel guilty when I go in the fridge. And that's one of the biggest tips I will tell anybody. If you're a beginner, get the stuff out that you aren't going to eat. I mean, we're empty nesters, so it's easy for us because we don't have any children. And we're both on the same track here, so it's easy. We just fill the fridge with fruits and veggies,
Yeah.
you know. But fill your fridge with lots of good fruit and things you want to snack on, and
Mm,
fresh veggies and things. Have it ready and available so that if you want some bowl of strawberries at night, you just go in there and you grab them.
yeah. Yep. Makes it really convenient. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know some people listening to can relate to also being on a lot of diets and maybe they're struggling with, okay, well, what do I do next? Or maybe they're thinking, wow, I also feel really free eating plant-based. And I'm so thankful, like you, Michelle, that you went down this path as well, one that you probably weren't expecting.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I was doing what they call dirty, lazy keto. I literally, we had just the week before, I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And then he went and had the blood work done, and then I Googled, and I'm like, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Because I feel like sometimes searching things on the internet can be overwhelming or there's a lot of conflicting information. But I'm so glad to hear that you were actually able to find sound information that's been beneficial.
Yeah, I'm very glad. It was, I thought, well, let's see. And I went to several different articles. I was like, okay, they're all kind of saying pretty much the same thing. So then I started finding people like you on
Hmm.
Instagram. And so I'm like, okay, they're saying this. And I mean, the proof's in, look at their appearance. They
Yeah.
look healthy, and okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what are you thinking? What's kind of the future looking like plant-based wise?
I want to keep sharing my story with people. So I'm doing that. Obviously, I've got to make sure I don't overwhelm people and make them feel like they're bad if they're not
Mm,
doing plant-based.
yeah.
But I want to keep doing it and show people that you can, because build muscle and do the things because we love working out. We, when we are working out, we are just like we love it. We enjoy it. We were doing it back in 2018. We did amazing. We were just 6 days a week doing all these different stuff, and we love working out. And I want to be able to do that again and show people you can do this. You can be strong and you can be healthy at whatever age you are.
100%. It's never too late, which I think is a really great point of what you've been saying. And all things are possible. And really, the one thing that we have in this life is our health to some extent. I mean, it really does matter.
Yeah, if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter whether you have millions and millions of dollars
Yeah.
or and all the greatest medical care. If you don't feel good and you're not healthy, those things still doesn't matter because they can only get you so far.
Well, so to kind of wrap us up to what has life been like cooking plant-based in an RV? How has that been? Any hurdles or anything there?
No, because this is one of something that is kind of crazy, and people are like, "What?" So I have never cooked in our oven once, and we've had this RV for over 3 years.
Oh,
Okay, I've never cooked in the oven at all. I cooked on the stovetop a couple of times the first week we had it, but it's small. We didn't like it, so I started cooking. First, I started out in an electric skillet, and then 2 years ago, I got a Ninja Foodie. I've never had it in. Well, no, I had an Instapot and I never used it. I gave it away. So I don't can't tell anybody's experience about that. I know people swear by them, but my Ninja Foodie 11 in one that's what I cook in every day. That is my
wow.
when I cook, that's what I cook in. I
Yeah.
and you know Tonight we're gonna have fajitas with rice. Every day it's something different. Last night I tried a recipe. It was like teriyaki, but eggplant just I don't like the texture
Oh, yeah.
when I'm gonna have to air fry it or something, air fry it in there. But
Hmm.
it has all these different settings on the Ninja Foodie. But that's what we use to cook in. And having a small space is no big deal. I just cut what I need to, cut the vegetables up, and but I'll tell you the biggest thing that's been a help is that when we bought the RV, we went with a residential fridge. So we
Oh,
have yeah, we did not go with we went with the residential fridge because we still at that time we were all about fresh food. I mean, no matter what, we were like, we know fresh food is better. So we went with the residential fridge. So we have plenty of room in our fridge for lots of food. And, but if you don't, even if you have a small, you can go to the market every couple of days, whatever you got to do to
yeah.
get, you figure it out. And I have a Health Master blender. So that's what I make my smoothies in. And we bought a NutriBullet juicer.
Oh, yeah.
So we weren't ready to invest in the Nama 3, Nama J, whatever
Okay.
it's called. Weren't
Okay.
ready to invest in that yet. It was like, okay, let's just see if we, but the NutriBullet, we like it. And so, I mean, we do a lot of the same things other people do, just have smaller space and we make the most of it.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
That's wonderful. And it
yeah,
sounds like you can do a lot with just that one device, the Ninja. So, which is
we had pasta and vegetables the other night. Yeah, you can do everything, like steam, air fry, pressure cook steaming potatoes. I just did it for the first time yesterday. And I was like, why did I wait all this time
yeah.
cutting them up into quarters and just throwing them in there and steam them in like 2 minutes? I was amazed. I was like, this is going to be like I'm gonna have to buy a lot more potatoes.
Yeah. Yes, you can do so much. That's so awesome. Yeah, good. Have you told any of your neighbors yet about your plant-based eating?
I did tell one lady because
Okay.
we were talking about it, and then I realized I said, I'm sorry, I'm rattling, I'm so sorry. I just kept, I was like, oh, but I get so excited about it because I want everybody to know, just in case they may not, maybe they're not having bad health, but maybe they know someone who is that it might help,
Yeah.
and they may
Yep.
say, hey, maybe you should try this.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can learn new things. If you really want it bad enough, you'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I know you and Rick definitely wanted it bad enough because the nurse, again, going back to what she said, was shocked that he hadn't had a heart attack or a stroke yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I forgot to share was that his blood glucose was 307 on
Ooh.
yeah. And his blood sugars have now been anywhere from 140 to like 180. So he's
Okay.
definitely getting better. So
Yep.
those are getting better too. So,
Good.
um,
Good.
yeah.
I'm going to ask you to update us again just on how Rick is doing and how y'all are doing with this,
Oh yeah, I
if you don't
will.
mind.
Of course, no, because I want people to know. And I mean, obviously we're going to be honest and say, yeah, this is okay. So we've been
Yeah.
doing this.
Yep.
Um, when you had said to me, when I commented the very first, when we first started this way of eating, you replied to me and said, let us know. And I was like, okay, I'll end up forgetting. So I put it as a reminder in my phone calendar. So I'll make sure I do this again for
Okay,
October,
good.
because I made sure, I was like, I'm going to go back and let her know, because this is amazing.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm so thankful that you did.
I know. I was like, okay, maybe it'll be down to 400 or 500. We were just, and then 280 from 1,093. We're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, it truly is, which is why I'm sure that everyone was kind of stupid of like, what did you do to do this without medication? So
If
we
people
cover
want to see
everything.
me acting goofy or sharing my food and things that we eat and things I cook in the Ninja Foodie, they can find me on Instagram at Michelle with one L underscore Bowman 07. Or they can find me on YouTube. I'm just now starting our to beginner journey to tell people what we're doing, how we're doing it, what's helped us, and that is on YouTube at Less Stuff, More Life, Whole Plant-Based Eating. So
And we've included those links in the show notes for free listening. You can just go down and click and connect with Michelle, watch our YouTube channel, and follow their journey.
thank you so much for having me. I'm praying that this will help somebody else. Even if we help one person by sharing this story, it can make a difference. And so I'm really grateful to be able to share this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing you and Rick's story. And I cannot wait for an update in a couple months.
All right.
All right, Michelle, thank you. And thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you. And like I said, everything is in the show notes. If you want to connect with Michelle, you can do that. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day. And thanks for being here. Until next time, keep thriving.